Hi everybody, it's been a while since I've done a video review of a movie, and today's movie seemed like it was a good opportunity to get back and maybe post another vlog instead of just a regular typewritten review, which takes a long time for me anyway. The movie I saw today was Deepwater Horizon. It's a very well-made film, extensively researched. It's very intriguing, and it seems like it's kind of a standard sort of thing for Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg to be making movies together now. They did Lone Survivor, and they've got an upcoming movie called Patriots Day. So apparently they like working together. This film is, well, let's face it, it's pretty dramatically strong. It's not deep in terms of theme. There's maybe a little bit of a discussion of what some of the backup problems were, and maybe a little bit of an accusatory finger towards British Petroleum. But mostly the movie is about the people who were on the Deepwater Horizon when it basically exploded and we got that huge oil disaster. Um, you know, if you were ever interested in how oil rigs work, or I should say exploratory oil rigs work, this will give you plenty of detail. It's the first 40 minutes of the movie is like watching a documentary, something like How Things Work, about exploration for oil on the bottom of the ocean. And it was very effectively told. There was interesting information about how the personnel are put onto the platform, and who's in charge and how things work. It seemed like there was a little bit of conflict between the oil company and the platform company. And the platform company is basically a contractor for the oil company. So they do work on the basis of what the oil company wants, but they have their own safety standards as well. And it looked like, from all um, indicators, that the oil company was happy to have the uh, platform company observe safety standards. They gave them safety awards for a number of years in a row. That's kind of introduced and included in the movie today. But in the long run, of course, we know that that's not how things worked out. Uh, Let me tell you that the best thing about a movie like this is that it gives good actors like Mark Wahlberg and Kurt Russell meaty opportunities to do real performances as opposed to just playing an action figure in a Transformers movie or a cartoon figure in Fast and Furious or The Hateful Eight. I thought that this was a good film from the point of view of the performances, mostly because it's so realistically based. It's not about an artificial story, it's a real story, and it tells it in a pretty dramatic way. Um, Kurt Russell is just a treasure. I can't believe that he's taken as much time off as he has, but he seems to have come back with a bang, because he's doing good work in everything I've seen him in the last year. And of course, next year we have him to look forward to in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so that should be a kick. I assume that he'll work pretty well in that film. Mark Wahlberg has turned into a very effective actor. He works within his range very well, and I thought he played a character that you can identify with and understand. Um, kind of get the hierarchy of what's going on the platform with the BP people all the time. I didn't know that John Malkovich was in the film. I was a little surprised about that. And in fact, even though I was seeing him, there were times when he just looked a little bit different, and he does a very good accent. So in the long run, he's got a good performance as well. Those are the three leads, and then of course there are a variety of other performers in the movie that are admirable as well. Kurt Russell starred in a film maybe 22, 24 years ago called Backdraft, and it was about firefighters, and it was pretty dramatic in the way that they told the story using fire as a character in the film. Well, the technology obviously has changed dramatically in the last 22, 24 years, and this movie makes everything seem even more real, even more dangerous. It was very impressive. About, I don't know, 2 months ago I did a podcast on The Lamb over the film Towering Inferno, and to be honest with you, the effects in Towering Inferno and the story that's being told there are cartoonish in comparison to the film I saw today. And like I said, I think that because the story is so focused on telling what is essentially a true story and getting as many of the details right as it can and really pulling us into that particular situation or circumstance, it lacks maybe a more important, I don't know, dramatic or narrative arc. Although, like I said, it's a pretty dramatic film and one that, well, I don't know if I want to call it enjoyable. It's one that definitely is worth seeing. Um, 11 people died in this situation. I know everybody thinks of BP and they think of the environmental damage that was caused, and that is, of course, horrific. It was terrible that such a thing happened, and it's affected thousands of lives for people in the area, and the environment has not done any favors by the disaster that happened. But the death of 11 people who were simply hardworking, careful people doing their jobs to the best that they could, that's the thing that is so tragic about this story. And although some of the characters here are portrayed heroically, and it seems like sometimes maybe it's a little bit of an attempt to turn people into heroes, it really feels more to me like it's a slice of life film that's telling a story about people who do a job that most of us have no conception of what's involved, and we don't even realize how dangerous it is until something like this happens. There was a little bit of an obvious foreshadowing at the beginning, and it's an attempt to kind of explain something ahead of time. If you remember that scene in Titanic when the treasure hunters are explaining why the Titanic went down, and they're using a computer graphics and a bottle to illustrate the whole thing, and then they go to the film and tell the story in flashback for 100 years ago. Well, that tried to explain the physics of the whole process. They have a very similar little scene in this film where Mark Wahlberg's character is talking to his daughter, and she's doing a school project about what his job entails, and basically they use a can of Coke and I think it was a pen and some honey to illustrate the basic concepts behind the exploration tools that the Deepwater Horizon was engaged in using. And although it might be a little simplistic, the truth is most of us needed that. There's a lot of technical additions to the film. Like I said, the first half of the movie might seem a little dry to people because there is a lot of this technical mumbo jumbo that's being pushed around, but it does seem like everybody knows their job, they're doing things, they're trying to double check. You do get a little bit of a clash between the two groups on the platform, and in the long run, the finger's going to be pointed at BP, and they probably deserve to have the finger pointed at them, at least if the events depicted in the story here are accurate. But the honest truth was that this was a good film. It was dramatic, it's entertaining, and most of all, it's enlightening because the opportunity to see, like I said, a lifestyle, an occupation, a job that is not similar to anything that you do, not something that you encounter on a regular basis, but also see it in a pretty dramatic way, I thought was really worthwhile. And I can't say it's the greatest picture of all time, but I can definitely say that the special effects and the action in the film were very effective. The actors do a very good job. The story in the end is compelling enough to keep you involved. I think it's worth your time. If you haven't seen it, take some time out and go and see Deepwater Horizon. It's probably not going to be in theaters too much longer, but take a chance, get yourself out there, enjoy the movie, and hope to see you again next time. Thanks.